All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Open Live Q&A. I wanted to go back to a little bit of getting into your guys' questions and helping you along with whatever question you have, if it's a math question or if it's just a regular question that you have. A lot of times I've been preparing for a lot of these streams, and then a lot of times I was like, you know what? A lot of the time questions I always feel most prepared a lot of times to go live and answer is just comes from you guys inside the chat and that are hop on. So if you do have a math question that you want to go ahead and submit, then you guys can go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A and then submit your question, and I'll go ahead and pull that up during this live stream and go ahead and take a look. However, if you're not able to make it or not able to stay on, then I do want to let you know I'm probably going to take down the live stream because most people don't really follow a live stream that is just kind of like answering questions that come in from the chat later on. So the if you do have a math question, or I'm going to try to go through those as well today, and just make sure that you either check it by tomorrow, so therefore you are all good. So hey, Aspect, Malarkey Man, Death Lord, Michael, Nora, Yazid, and Ralphie, good to have you guys on. And whatever question you guys have inside the chat, feel free, guys, to go ahead and post them up, and I will be, oh, there it is. I was looking for this. I'm going to go ahead and get them over to, I'll go and take a look at my thing. So if you do have a question or a math question, let's see if I can change this. I'll probably have to create something in from there. There we go. Aha, I'm going to put that right there. So if you have a math question, go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and that is where you guys can get all of your help from math questions. So I'll go ahead and check out that Google form here later. It's absolutely free. I just enjoy helping and teaching people math. So feel free to go ahead and submit your questions there. Or if you just have a regular question, then feel free to add them down on the chat. I want to get back. One of the things I wanted to do for this upcoming year was focus on some of my videos, like still talking about a lot of topics here, on these live streams, but then also getting into just doing more questions from you guys and questions that you guys have inside the chat, as well as math questions. So let me go ahead and pull up my Google form. It's been so long since I've done this, so I do apologize for that, guys. Sorry. I know it's been a while. I know some people have posted questions and they're probably like, what happened? And he kept on saying he was going to go through this. And then I just kind of stopped doing it. I just got really, really busy doing non-math stuff. And that just the live streams just kind of took everything out of me. So I haven't been able to focus on them. So I'm going to try to do my best to knock out some math questions. But before I get to my math questions, let me go ahead and get to your guys' questions inside the chat. So if you have any other question, not so much math specific, I'll tell you to go ahead and submit it in there. But if you have any other major questions, then go ahead and put it into the chat and I will try to do my best. Let's switch this over. There you go. All right, Ref says, how do you recommend self-studying for pre-calc? I think one thing I would recommend for you to do is definitely get a couple different textbooks. I have taught pre-calculus for over 10 years, and there's been some textbooks that I really, really liked and some ones that I really didn't. And so even if it's a textbook or maybe just even a curriculum, I know I'm not going to recommend any particular curriculum, but I have found as students learn, there is definitely different curriculums or different ways of teaching that people just relate to better that can teach the same content. So depending on what you're trying to learn pre-calculus for, if it's just for your own information, if it's just to refresh for calculus, or if it's to learn to go into, whatever course you're doing, obviously you're going to want to talk to the advisor or your next math teacher to kind of make sure that you're learning the correct content that you need. But otherwise, I think just getting a variety of either some online content or just some, digital content that you can just kind of learn from different aspects. Because I think a lot of times when we're learning and we get stuck, and if we don't have anything else to rely on or to see how somebody else teaches that concept, it can kind of feel overwhelming and frustrating. So I would highly rely on at least having 2 to 3 different resources that you can rely on to help you learn the pre-calculus curriculum. Hey, Science Fair. Thank you for passing my math test. You're very welcome. I'm assuming you would probably mean factoring. That's usually what students are talking about when they say to do a third degree polynomial. And all depends on what you have. If you have a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, um, or a polynomial with 4 terms, right? So there's going to be a different factoring technique for each one of those. So unfortunately, I can't really give you a great answer based on that question. But if you rephrase your question, I'll try to do my best. Any test taking tips for my last math final? Yeah, I do all the problems you know how to do first. Go through the whole test, doing all the easy problems. Then go back through the test and do the problems that are kind of easy, but maybe kind of hard that you kind of have a good idea of, but they're not going to take a long time on. And then do the problems that are the most difficult or you have the least amount of confidence on. That is my number one test strategy. I tell all my students to do on test day. A lot of them still don't follow it, but to me, it really helped. And I think it just makes sense to do the problems you know how to do first. You're very welcome to it. Let me see. Where am I at? There you go. Currently in Algebra 1 and really helped me on polynomials. Thank you. You are very welcome. Why are you not my teacher? I am your teacher, I guess, kind of on YouTube, right? Maybe. I love reviews that help me very much. You know what's happening, but I like to know more of cases, subjects like algebra. Let me see you read this again. I love your vids. They help me very much to know what's happening, but I'd like to know more of the cases and subjects like algebra. Well, I mean, the cool thing is I'm not isolated. I mean, there's a ton of amazing instructors also on YouTube and all over that you can go ahead and, further your online discovery or further your discovery in mathematics. So, I mean, I have hundreds, actually thousands of videos on algebra, but yeah, it's mostly limited to what I was teaching inside the classroom. So I didn't cover everything that I could cover or would want to cover. But I definitely say a lot of students don't even know that I have so many videos on a particular topic. So you can definitely follow through on my playlist, but then also, see what other people are creating out there. And there's some amazing, math instructors or people that make amazing math videos that are online. I am doing very well. It's I'm not sure if you noticed my energy had been a little down the last couple weeks. I've been really, really busy working outside of YouTube, outside of teaching, doing some construction work that for a property that I own that I kind of had to take the lead arm on. So it's been really, really busy and it's been frustrating because I haven't been able to really focus on making videos or content, and that's kind of hurt my planning. And yeah, so you might have seen me just kind of not have the same energy that I usually like to have on these Sunday live streams or throughout even, some of my videos. But I'm hoping that is going to change and the wind is going to shift for this upcoming year. So that is what I am looking forward to today. What's the best for me to study for Calculus BC2? I'm not sure what you mean by that. What's the best for me? Rephrase that and let me know. I have the math to tomorrow. Please help me with powers and logs. Well, if you are in luck, you can go and submit your question at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll try to do my best to answer your question. What motivational quote can you come up with me that dreams of being a pure mathematician and a scientist? I admire your videos that inspire me that. Well, that's awesome. I have a lot of amazing quotes. The problem is my memory for quotes is horrible. And a motivational quote. I have so many quotes that I've listened to that I just love. But I mean, you can definitely do it. I don't think you need a quote. And I maybe would discourage you to think about a quote that's going to drive you because you have to have a drive that's going to be much stronger than a quote. A quote can inspire you for a day. It can inspire you for a week or maybe in a month. But I think the main thing is you got to wake up every single day with that drive of I am going to be a pure mathematician and scientist. This is what I want to do. I am going to do everything I can do for it. And I think that comes within. I don't think there's any quote that's going to get you there. But I do love quotes. I have my journal and I love reading them. I love listening to self-help, in the car. I think immersing yourself in that type of stuff is great, but I don't have one off the top of my head. So I apologize for that, but just make sure you have it, make sure that you're going to where you want to go and just put 100% effort in there. What are some problem solving strategies for 10th grade Olympiads? I don't know. That's not something I focus on. So apologize for that, but I don't have anything great I think I can offer you. It was more difficult in my opinion. I remember when I took it as a student, but I wouldn't say it was that much more difficult. Maybe like 25% more. A little bit more, but not too much. I think the main thing is like as long as you understand strongly Calc 1, then Calc 2 is going to be fine. But if you kind of got by in Calc 1, even no matter what your grade is, but you didn't really understand as much, then Calc 2 can be difficult. How should I get better with vectors? Practice. Just practice, practice, practice. That's it. You're good. You got this. I mean, vectors, can be simplified on its approach. So don't try to overthink it. Don't try to overwork it, but practice. Practice the basics and then go from there. Uh, yes, but it's been a while. So, I mean, I probably won't do sequences series on the live stream. It's just I would have to go back and like refresh through my notes and stuff. It's been years since I even taught it. But feel free to always submit them, and I'll do what I can to go from there. Hello, how are you doing? Do you have any practice my time management skills? Okay, let me go this. Hello, how are you doing? Do you know how I can practice my time management skills for tests? Yeah, I think the same thing I gave earlier in the stream. Do all the problems you know how to do first, right? Because if that takes all the time on your test, at least you did the problems you know how to do, right? So do all the problems you know how to do first. Number one, get those out of the way. That primes your brain, gets you prepared, helps you remember things. It doesn't make you frustrated, doesn't make you stressed out. You're doing the problems you know how to do, the easy ones. Get them out of the way. Then excel onto more difficult problems. And then the ones that are going to stress you out, the ones you're going to hate, the frustrating ones, the ones that are going to take forever, do those absolutely last. Because if you do have a lot more time, then great. You can spend that time working on those problems. And if you don't have a lot of time, well, hey, you might not have got those right anyway. So it is what it is. You are very welcome, Freddie. All right, math question. This would be one I'm going to use on my whiteboard. So go ahead and submit it at brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Thanks, Danny Lion. You're my favorite, my YouTuber watch. Every time I lost my math class, I always find one of your videos. Thank you so much for explaining. You're very welcome. Happy to help. Well, what is it about linear equations you have trouble with? Would you say pre-calculus is basically algebra on the level of calculus? No, not really. I would say pre-calculus is basically a review of some algebra 2 concepts like rational expressions, polynomials, and functions, and then a introduction to trigonometry, and then a study of trigonometry, and then an introduction into some, topics that will be useful in calculus, like sequences and series and vectors and conic sections. Not so much in conic sections, but what other topic I was thinking of? Oh, parametric and polar equations. That's what I was thinking of. I think it all depends on how you set them up. I think core notes can be effective. I never use them really in my classroom. I don't know. I was just never a big buy-in on them. It just wasn't natural for me. I never got used to it, so I just never followed through. I'd like to know, what is your opinion on homeschooling? I've thought about homeschooling a little bit. I guess I should probably think before I open my mouth, but I don't think there's anything wrong with homeschooling. I think the and I think probably, providing that people an option and a choice to making sure they're getting education. I think the main issue that I have is having a high quality education available for everyone. And I think that's where public education needs to really come in and step up and be able to provide that. I think a lot of times the goals that we have for public education or the education that we're delivering is not really setting the needs of our society. And I don't think they are in line with what we are needing. So I think that's where we've seen a lot of the rise of, homeschooling, because it's that desire to, get a quality education and not have to go through a lot of I wouldn't say traditions, but a lot of the way that education always been and has always done, right? Education has not changed. We're not adapting. The pandemic helped out a little bit, but then we kind of went back to exactly the way things have always done. And education is such a huge conglomerate. It's so difficult to make changes into it. I think that's why a lot of people have wanted to take education into their own hands and done and used homeschooling. Now, of course, that's not the only reason, but I think having opportunity in education is very very important. But I would rather see I would I wouldn't say I'd rather see. Because I think charter schools, private schools, homeschools, public schools, they all have a part in the ecosystem. I don't think one's going to be necessarily better than the other, but I do believe that having a strong public system is probably one of the more bigger, important things that we need, where everybody at least believes and buys in to the public school, even if they don't want to have their children go there or they don't want to be or teach there or whatever may be the case. But I still think having a strong system in that regard is a critically important for our society at large. But yeah, I think we need to do better. I don't think people should have to rely on homeschooling because they feel like they have no other options. That's what I don't like about homeschooling, because at that point, then you're going to be getting um, a lot of stuff that I don't think is going to be conducive or very helpful, right? You've seen that whenever marketers or anything else, like when money goes, like you're going to start getting both sides of the equation. And that's what scares me about some of the homeschool trend in that regard. But I have no problem with homeschooling. I think there's a lot of benefits, that can be had from there. So I just, yeah, it's definitely something I need to do some more research and thought on, and maybe make another video on. Hey, Silver, thank you so much. The original 2013 helped me a lot. You are very welcome. I am so happy to hear that. All right. Let's see what else we got. Can you make a video on steps on to graph a radical and absolute value functions with transformations in the future? Sure. Go ahead and submit them at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and it might be on this video or I can make it in another video. Will you make a geometry course? I need to. Like I said, I've been so busy with this outside project. It has kind of pushed me away from doing anything that I've wanted to really do on my channel. So I'll be coming back to that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It can be tough. Always look for substitution first, before you can do that. But yeah, it's a long process. There's a lot of ways to make mistakes. So my best advice would be to go slow, right? And go slow and make sure you are showing all of your work, because it's a lot of work, right? That can take through. So I think spreading things out, going slow, you're going to be all right. Not much. I've had a couple people send me stuff, but it was never part of the curriculum or anything else I taught. So I've never been exposed to it as much, for in that regard. I do not currently play the piano. I did grow up taking lessons and learning piano for probably about 4 to 5 years. But I was never very good. I remember one song I can still play, but that's about it. I would just like to know your overall opinion. Oh, I already got that one, I guess. That would be infinite. No, I'm just joking. Because you can't take an infinite course. But I mean, as far as a course, who knows what actually a course that somebody teaches, that would be the highest. And I think that might be a little ambiguous too, because I mean that might be depending on what you mean of the highest, you know, how you're defining that. But there's a lot. I remember I have a bachelor's in mathematics, and all that really did was expose to me there is so much more of math to learn and how much I don't know. I have a pre-calc trig on triangles test on Tuesday, and I don't even know what's going on. How can I catch up in 2 days? I mean, I have a lot of playlists and a lot of videos on trig. I don't know what else to really tell you as far as what you need to be learning or to grasp things, to understand things. But I have a lot of content on triangles, a lot of content on trig. That's probably my most thing. And without knowing what exactly you need help on or where to look, I would just say look at those playlists. And there's a lot of those videos that hopefully can help you get caught up. Do you have any tips on comprehension? I feel like I can only remember how to solve a problem if I look at my notes. Yeah, do it over and over again. One of my tips that I tell students to do is do the problem by looking at your notes. Do it. Then cover it up. Then like take the problem, rewrite it, cover up your notes, cover the problem, and try to do it again without them. If you get stuck, that's okay. Take away the paper, look at your notes, and like, oh, okay, remember, and then try to finish the problem. It might take you 3 or 4 times doing that, but I remember there were some math classes where I had to do that for a lot of problems. I just could not grasp the steps that needed to be applied. So I had to literally take the problem worked out with all the worked out solution, cover it up, and redo it. And sometimes it would take me 3 to 4 times to do that. But that was a little skill that hopefully can help you out with your comprehension. Actually, I wouldn't say comprehension. Comprehensions, you're going to have to apply it a little bit more further. But if you just want to be able to remember the process, that's not really comprehension, but that is a way to help you. But for comprehension, that's going to come into a lot more applying what you're learning with that problem, not so much just redoing the problem. You're very welcome, Dr. X. Happy to be able to help. I'm saying, can you help me trinomials by factoring over integers? I can do my best. Go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I will try to answer. Which math books do I don't have any math books for recommendations. I'm sorry. But I'm so excited for you entering high school. It's so awesome. You're going to be good. Just, I think even if you have like some extra or side curriculum, you'll be okay, from on there. But yeah, I would just follow whatever textbook that is going through your high school, unless you're homeschooled. Then, I guess take some advice as far as what you need to learn, follow through on that. But yeah, having some supplementary resources, I would recommend. And what are some good tips for a student taking Calculus BC and kind of struggle to do well in Unit 4? I never taught Calculus BC. I only taught Calc AB, so I'm not familiar what is Unit 4, but I can give you some general tips. You're struggling. You're getting onto. Things are building, right? You're going to be taking the AP exam at the end. You need to, be doing math every single day. And I would start even doing some spiral review. So if there's things that you missed in Unit 4, while you're doing your current content, go back through that older stuff. Even go back to Unit 1, go back to Unit 2, go back to Unit 3, redo some of those homework. I know it's a lot. And I know if you're taking AP Calc, it's very, very demanding, right? And I'm sure if you're taking AP Calc, you might even taking some other AP classes. But the main key is if your main goal is to take this AP exam and to excel in it, you've got to start reviewing now. Start going back to that stuff you've even previously learned. When I used to give my homework to my students, I would give them problems that we currently were doing, right, to practice that I taught in that class. And then I would give them problems from, the chapter before, the chapter before that, and the chapter before that. I was always giving them problems to remember, to remind them of what they previously learned so they didn't forget the content, because it's so easy. Most students are not going to go back into their old notes. Once they pass a test or once they, do their homework, they're not going to go back and review it. Maybe to study for their final exam. But besides that, they're never going back and opening up that book. So I made it a fact as a teacher to provide them with problems to do it. If you don't have that and you're realizing that there's some stuff that you struggled with, don't give up on it. Keep on going back to it. Sometimes you just do need a little bit more time. That's okay. I'm not putting up the alarms because you're starting to struggle. That's okay. Sometimes you just need a little bit more time for things to sink in, for you to understand them, but you can't give up on the material, especially on a course like Calculus, BC. It's fast paced. It's fast moving. So if you need some extra help, make sure you reach out to people, tutor labs, your teacher, whatever may be the case, but make sure you're being diligent and doing math every single day. Nope. Maybe. Let me think. Actually, well, I'll actually let you know of a funny story. Maybe it's not really a funny story. It was funny to me. It was funny to my friends. But actually, a friend of mine, he was actually trying to measure, I think and again, this is a very low level math question, but actually I've had a couple. I've also reached out to a couple times. There are people who've had real life math questions that they've needed me to. But the problem with real life math scenarios, if it's not a math scenario from a textbook, is the math is actually pretty complicated. And that's why we have people with, very advanced degrees like solving these real life scenarios. A lot of the stuff that is going to be solved with, high school mathematics is going to be fairly simple math questions. But either way, um, so anyways, a lot of the good math questions that we need usually require like some advanced math work, to be done from on there. But anyways, so one time I had a friend, he was like, "Oh, I was trying to find I don't know, some angle of a triangle for the sun because he was trying to set like his shade up." So he went to look on YouTube, and who showed up? He's like, "I didn't even know you're on YouTube or anything like that. Like, that's amazing," and stuff like that. And it was funny. Like, I mean, that's where a lot of people sometimes even find my videos if they're looking for, how to find, I think it was like how to find the angle of a triangle. I had no idea. Like, obviously it's a fairly basic thing in high school, but, obviously he was far removed from it. And, yeah, so he just went to Google to like look it up, and boom, then my face popped up. And he's like, "Wait a minute, I know that guy." But yeah, it was fairly basic thing. And that's most things that people are going to be researching. So no real fascinating real life example. That would usually require some pretty good math that I didn't. I mean, I guess in my undergrad I eventually went into, but I didn't really do much with applied math. By the way, well, thank you. The reason why I'm always bald is the last time I tried to grow out hair. This is another good story, not a really good story, but so I had my cousin's wedding in, I don't know, 2008. Yeah, it's in 2008. So I had already been bald for 5 years before that. So yeah, since 2013, I basically started shaving my head. My sophomore year in college, I started going bald, and I was like, nope, I'm just gonna shave my head. And then in 2008, my cousin was getting married, and like for all the wedding photos, I'm like, I feel like everybody's, we're gonna have all these photos. I'm like, I want to have one more photo where like people can see my hair, like to remember, like you look at people like, oh yeah, I remember when he had hair. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna grow out my hair. And so I didn't shave my head for like a year. Hair grew out, and it looked bad. It looked really bad. And actually, I had this older teacher. She was probably, like a grandma or whatever else. And so I come walking in one day in school, and she's like, Mr. McLogan, she's like, I just want to let you know that you looked really good with the bald head. And kind of like gave me that wink of like the old lady, like, you looked much better with the bald head than what I looked like with my hair. Like it was all very thin and like balding and stuff like that. And so I kind of took the cue from the old lady, my fellow teacher. I was like, all right, I'm never growing my hair out again. And ever since then, never have. Always been bald. All right, let me go and find some questions. Oh, let me read it like this. What am I doing? Oh, I am not sure about that. Sorry about that. It's always funny. There's always one comment. There's always one time on these videos I always get a down, a thumbs down. I don't get it. It's like every single time there's always has to be one person that gives me a thumbs down. Maybe sometimes I've had really bad live streams. I'm not sure where I've had a lot of thumbs down, but it always seems no matter how many thumbs ups I get, there's always just one thumbs down. Maybe it's the same person doing it every single time. I don't know, but it's just always funny. Um, what's the best way I can prepare for any math test or exam when it is the next week? Within the next week, it all depends. I mean, a math exam and a math test are very different, but I would just recommend going back through your old notes, going back through your old tests, going back through your old quizzes, redoing the problems you know how to do, redoing the problems you don't know how to do. Take all of your notes, create a cheat sheet, review that cheat sheet as much as you can. But I think just being consistent and spending like an hour to 2 hours, within a week should be good enough time to hopefully have you go through all the material that you learn and practice and apply it some there. Because the main thing you want to do is the night before the test is to do as limited amount of studying as possible. That should be your relaxation time. So therefore, when test day comes, you are energized. You have done everything you could possibly do to review, and you're ready for game time. It's been too long since I taught it to remember. Sorry. Hello, Mr. Morgan. I have a question. We'll submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I'm going to get to those in just a second. If I was to teach another class besides math, I'd probably like to teach political science. That was actually my minor. I never got I never got my teaching certificate in political science because then I'd be in the social studies and I'd have to teach everything in social studies, which no way could I teach everything in social studies. But I could teach. Well, I guess I was qualified to teach political science. But yeah, I never got my teaching certificate for that. No, I wouldn't say no. It was not a mere pure math in college. I don't have any best advice for that. I would definitely make sure you speak with your advisors, speak with the math teachers to get a really good input. So you have direction, and also based on the courses that are offered, what the content is. Because every university is going to have different pathways. For every single degree. So I would definitely do your research and speak with a lot of people for that. Yes, there is. And if you go and submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, I can better explain it. I do miss being a teacher. I definitely do. I think, the routine of being a teacher. I think I miss the relationships you get with your students, the growth that you see your students go through from the beginning of the year at the end of the year. But I'm also at peace with my decision to step away from the classroom. Um, you know, my girls are growing up. They're they're now into the educational system, and you know, the time that I'm able to spend with them is very, very important to me, and so I've really loved that opportunity, or the flexibility of stepping away from the classroom has brought me for that. But I miss teaching. I miss the challenges of teaching. I miss the joys of being inside the classroom. But yeah, the one thing that was always tough was the flexibility. It's like you got to be on every day for your students. Every day you got to be on. And that's when I knew when I couldn't do that for my students anymore. I'm like, get out of the classroom. Nobody wants a teacher that's just mailing it in every day. And that's how I felt my last year. And that's how I knew it was time for me to step away. And but yeah, so I'm at peace with it, but yeah, I do miss it. Or I miss the good. I always say this. I miss the good stuff. I don't miss the bad stuff. Well, thank you very much. Um you're going to want to use matrices for that. Don't want to be doing algebraically matrices. Gaussian elimination is one way. Um Hey Ethan, good to have you on. My Calc 3 professor isn't setting up to succeed. We have our final next Saturday, and I asked him what I should focus on. He said he can't tell me. That will be on the final. Well, that's kind of annoying. I would just get with a group of students and try to create like a mastermind that you guys can to prepare for the final, right? I mean, that sucks, but it is what it is. He's not like required to, I guess, tell you exactly, what you want. I think it's helpful to kind of give an outline so what you can focus on, but it is what it is. So I would try to get with as many students as possible so you guys can crack the code. Brian McLogan. All right. Yes, go ahead and submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll happy to go ahead and give it a shot. Hey, Chopper, thank you for the super chat. I missed that thing. I really appreciate it. Is there any way to factor trinomial? Yes, but even with the super chat, I apologize. I have to get my whiteboard. And so once I go through all these questions, I'll hop on my whiteboard. So if you can go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, that'll help out a lot. Why is it showing up like that? That's so weird. Oh, huh. Okay. Yes, algebra never gets away. It's everywhere. All right. I'm studying, but almost. So I've been really behind. I've really been feeling really behind this semester. I've been studying, but still not understanding anything. What should I change for my finals in 2 weeks? I mean, I would just go back to that, reviewing, like go back to all the content that you need to be reviewing, go through. the material, I mean, if you can get a tutor, if it's possible, pay for somebody to help fill in the cracks for you, or maybe a study partner or something like that. I think that might be um, the best, for you. It's just, speak with your teacher, let them know, see what their advice is, because obviously they're the people that are, you know, going to be teaching you. So that will, that's going to provide you with um, the best advice, specific advice that you can use to get caught up. You're very welcome. Um, I don't think he is picking questions from here, but I am. Did you retire? Yeah, I stepped away from the classroom. All right, cool. I'll make sure that I get to them in just a second. Let me go and actually see something real quick. Okay. Clear you down when you need to settle down. Yeah, sometimes in there. No, I don't want to work. I don't want to work for Wise Ants. But no, you can. Yeah, I'm here every Sunday night. I've been here every single time for on this. Okay, sorry about that. I was trying to open up another tab to look over those, and it was taking forever. You can, but I was helping a student today with like some trig, and we went back to like the basics of trigonometry. And so I think you're not going to fully understand what and why you're and how you're doing things without like a foundation of geometry. As far as taking the course, yeah, you can definitely go into trig without some geometry, but again, you're just going to be missing some gaps in knowledge. So I don't think it's fully the best. Would you consider doing? Yes, I would consider doing a full linear algebra course. 100%. It's been a while, and that's one thing that I've really wanted to get in with. Just want to say I'm 23 now, and you've been teaching for at least 10 years. Great, super great for your work, and how you everything to help your journey. Awesome. Well, congratulations, Michael. I love that. Best of luck. I think you can study, given past time. What should I practice problems and rewatch the videos? Wait, what's the best way to study for my math final? Given that my teacher has given us all the past topics to go over, should I do practice problems or rewatch the videos? I mean, watching videos can take time, so I'm not 100% think that's the best thing for reviewing. I would just kind of go through as many problems that you can that you know how to do, that you didn't know how to do, that you struggle with. Practice, practice, practice them, and then take all of the notes, the formulas, put those on a cheat sheet, and review that. Obviously, if there's something you're struggling with, you totally forgot it, you don't remember it, then spend your time watching the videos. But videos just can be, that's why I always like to keep my videos short to the point, under 5 minutes, most of them, because people can drag on their explanations. And I don't want you to be spending hours and hours watching videos if it's not going to be, especially when your time is limited preparing for a final. Well, then go and submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I don't have a book, but I would recommend looking at a couple before you make your decision. No, I've not looked at any of those. Fortunately, I do not teach inside the classroom anymore, but I still kind of focus on all math, high school math subjects, algebra 1 through calculus. That's a lot. I don't know how I could answer that question. Um, but I think some long nights that you have in front of you to go back through, and everything that I've said about studying in past videos or in this live stream, I'd watch it, go back through it, and just go back through and review as much stuff as possible. But in the end, you're only going to do as well as you can do. So I would, focus on stuff that you feel semi comfortable on. Don't try to be like relearning all brand new stuff now. Focus on stuff that you feel comfortable, that you learn, that you can understand, and that you can do well on your exam, and just do the best you can do. I think going into a test or exam with some confidence, and just putting your best foot forward is going to mean a lot, rather than I stayed up all night studying and cramming. I don't know. It doesn't always provide the best result. All right. I don't know. What's the biggest suggestion for my pre-calculus logarithm example? I don't know. I think the only question I have for you on logarithms is, always a lot of times with logarithms, I just, rewrite them in exponential form to sometimes better understand them, or just to make sure that I know that I'm doing the correct process. Holy crap. I got a lot of questions. All right. I'm going to try to do my best. Now, one thing I want you guys to know is I do not promise to get to every single math question that gets submitted. Okay. I apologize, but it is not possible for me to get to all of the math questions. I have not seen any of these math questions. Some of these questions I have prepared for, some of these I have not. So yeah, please don't be mad at me if I don't remember or don't address your question that you submitted. You can say, "Hey, Mr. McLogan, I submitted my question." Well, it doesn't mean I get to have to answer every single question. All right. Got them here. Oh, come on. Thought they were good questions. All right, I got to get to these math topics that you guys submitted. So I'm going to take a break from going inside the chat. So that's why I'm not answering any of those questions. But I'll get to them. Don't worry. I'll get to your guys' questions. I promise. And whatever questions I can't get to, I'll let you know. All right. All right. I don't have my calculator with me either. So, and one thing too, word problems are not great for live streams, but all right. Come on. Here, you guys want to see my screen? Therefore, you guys can see what's going on. Any statistics test coming? Any tips? I mean, review your notes, I guess. Everything about functions and math. I can't help you with that. But if you have a specific problem, that's where you guys should be going to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I just did that one. Having trouble with derivatives, inverse functions. I got to review all calculus stuff. Sorry, it's been too long. Oh, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Mario, I'm stuck on parallel and perpendicular lines. I need help. I need more specific. So if you guys notice on the Google form, you guys can submit a question. I'd really, really appreciate if you took in like a picture or a PDF or something like that. So therefore I can see what question you're referring to. And then who is the person that was asking about the best way to factor? I haven't seen your question yet. Problem of the day. Wait, I don't know. Why is those pictures of me? I have any prominent engagement shopping and bought 19, 18, and 47 glazed. How many did he buy altogether? This is not true. There's no way your teacher gave this. That is hilarious. What the heck? This is hilarious. My teacher gave me this and I don't get it. Do I add or subtract? I don't get it. Well, please tell me your teacher put my face on those. That might be the most hilarious thing I have seen. David J. I'm studying for my third exam, which is tomorrow, and covers recent math topics, but also study for an exam one on free take. Yeah, you got to speak with your counselor, David. I see your question. That's very loaded, and it's a lot, and I get it. I know it's a lot, but I think you need to speak with like a counselor or something like that to get that through. All right, so I got a factoring problem. How many? I can't remember how many I had. Tips on optimization problems. I don't really have any tips on optimization. How do you change cosine equation into sine equation with shine having a shift? I remember this one. This was a while ago. It's going to be pi halves minus 90. Actually, I can explain that. Okay. I don't see your. I'm going to maybe go back one more. Nolan, what's the beta Paul Nighter? I don't want to say this online, but caffeine would be good. Graphene, each equation of the derivative. Is it pi polynomial? And if so, what degree? No, pi is not a polynomial. It is a constant. I think this is the last one. Maybe not. Okay. I'm going to go and get into these math questions because I did promise that I would be doing some math questions. So I do want to make sure I get these for all you guys that submitted. I do apologize for those of you that submitted in the past. I never got to them. I can just say I'm sorry. I really am. All right. So let's go and take a look at this one. Find the value of x. Uh-oh, that's not good. I had a tutoring appointment earlier today, so I had my pen, but now I can't find my pen. Oh, got it. Okay. Find the value of x that makes the equation below equation true. Check for extraneous solutions. Okay. So log base 11. So the cool thing that we have is there's two things that I want you to know about this problem. Let me actually move this. So the first thing is what we call the one-to-one property. Okay. If I said 3 to the x is equal to 3 squared, and then I say, well, what do you think x is equal to? Most students would be like, well, x is equal to 2. That's kind of obvious, right? This is what we call the one-to-one property for exponential equations. Well, guess what? The exact same thing is true for logarithms. If I say log base 3 of x is equal to a log base 3 of 2, guess what x is equal to? X is equal to 2. So whenever you have a logarithm equal to another logarithm, right? They have to be equal, no other fluff going on. But when you have logarithm equal to another logarithm of the same base, the arguments are going to be equivalent to each other. So in this example, that's exactly what we have. We have log base 11 of x squared plus a 5x minus 108 is equal to a log 11 of 28x. So again, you can see the bases, we have a logarithm equal to a logarithm with the same bases. So now I can just say x squared plus a 5x minus 108 is equal to a 28x. Now I just need to solve. And I recognize this is a quadratic. So for all quadratics, what I'm going to want to do is set it equal to 0. So therefore I can either factor it or use quadratic formula or completing the square. So when I get that now, it's going to be an x squared. Let's see, a 5x, so that's going to be a negative 23x minus 108 is equal to 0. Okay, so let's just kind of go the old school. I don't have a calculator around with me, so I'll do 108. I can just break it down by 2s. I can do a 54 2. Nope, that's not going to work, right? But then I can break that up as well, so therefore it could be a 27 and 4. And again, I am looking for them. We're looking for a difference of our factors to be 23. That's exactly what I got, right? So whenever the last term is negative, what you're doing is you're looking for that difference to be here. So if I want to get a negative 23 difference, I want the 27 to be negative. So therefore I can factor this as an x minus a 27 times a x plus 4 is equal to 0. Set them both equal to 0 and solve using the 0 product property. So I'll just show my work. X minus 27 equals 0. X plus 4 is equal to 0. So x equals a 27 and x equals a negative 4. And then you got to plug them back in, make sure they're not going to be extraneous. Notice when I plug in a negative 4 into this equation, though, that makes my argument negative. And if your argument is going to be negative, that means it's extraneous. So therefore, that is not an equation. Or I'm sorry, that is not a solution to the original equation. Problem of the day. Gage went shopping and bought 19, 18, and 47 glazed. How many did he buy altogether? So again, when you're thinking of altogether, that is going to be a combination. So you're just going to want to add these up. So it'd be 19 plus 18 plus 47. That's what you're going to be looking for in this case. And then you can just add two of them together at one point, right? So 18 plus 19 is going to be a 37 plus 47. And then in this case, what I would do is I'd add the 30 and the 40. That's going to give me 70. And then I'd add 17 plus 17, which is going to be 14. So therefore, that's going to give me an 84. All right. So this is a trinomial. And I think the easiest thing we always want to look for trinomials is factoring out common terms, right? Always want to factor out the GCF. Always look to simplify, simplify, simplify before you have to get into any math. So in this case, I'm going to factor out the 5, and that's going to leave me with 11x squared plus a 5x plus a 7. And now let's get into a way to simplify. I don't really need to worry about this 5. Let's go ahead and get into a way to multiply this out. And actually the method I was thinking of, I'm not sure if I can remember it right now, but I'm going to try to do my best. So let's do 11 times 7, which is going to be a 77. And then we're going to have a 5. So what two numbers multiply to give me a 77 and add to give me a 5er? 7. No. I'm not seeing. I'm not sure if that's even factorable. And I'd have to go back and think. I actually forget that technique. I'll have to go back to my notes on that. Is this factorable? Does anybody else factor it? It doesn't look like it's going to be a factorable equation or a factorable expression across integers. You can definitely do it. You can definitely do it no matter what, but across integers, I'm just trying to think. My brain is already hurting me now. So hopefully somebody got it, maybe not. Yeah, you'd probably have to do the quadratic. If you're trying to solve, though, this is just an expression. So it's just an expression at the moment. So we're not trying to solve it. I'm just trying to see if I could factor it. But what you could do is if you want to find the factored form of this, you could solve it using the quadratic formula and then rewrite it in factored form. Yeah, but I'm not seeing that this... let me go check it again. I don't think it's going to be factorable. Yeah, it's not factorable across rational numbers. So, yep, there you go. So all you can do is factor out the GCF. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back next week to answer your questions. Thank you so much for showing up, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Hope you have a great week. Cheers.